Hi guys, so today I'm doing my favourite AC/DC related albums of the 2010s. I say AC/DC related because I do have some other favourite albums like Hypersonic Missiles, but I can't include that because it's got absolutely nothing to do with AC/DC. With copyright for this, it probably is going to be an issue, so I'm probably just going to play some of the songs out loud from my iPod to avoid actually like baking them into the video and it being taken down. So firstly, some honourable mentions before I do get into the top 10. The Lazies with their self-titled debut album with stuff like Howlin' Woman and Shake It Like You Mean It. Thunder Mother with their self-titled album with stuff like Racing on Main Street. I really like that. 42 Decibel, Rolling in Town, that's another one. And Storm of Blades by Bullet, Riding High off that album is an absolute tune. So without further ado, here is the list. So this only just made the top 10 because, you know, it's pretty new and I'm not sure whether I'll still be listening to it in the years to come. But it is a strong, consistent album, which is why it's earned its spot. And it's got some really sort of nice, well-crafted, catchy songs like Flammable, the title track, and Move. This kind of seems like an old album now, especially seeing as I first heard it right when it came out in summer 2012. But back in the day, I used to love this album, so I've got to put it in. I don't listen to the songs much now, but stuff like sort of Blue Skies Red, Doing the Pretty, Too Fired Up, Rag and Bone Man and Pick a Window, You're Leaving are still great tracks, and I've got some great memories from them. This, in my opinion, is Thunder Mother's strongest album, and it contains some great songs like Fight Fire with Fire, Rock and Roll Sisterhood, It's Just a Tease, Vagabond, and Alright Alright. Great guitar work, great hooks. Oh, and the first 20 seconds of Thunder Machine, wow. So this album actually came out when I was stuck in the Caribbean during Hurricane Irma. So it was really the best entertainment I had. And because of this, I've got some pretty unique memories when I listen to the songs. Aside from this though, the album is pretty strong overall. And the title track, along with Hooked on You and Walk the Talk are all great. Really catchy. I love the riff for Big Bang. It's such a good riff. So yeah, that's another good album. This album really exceeded my expectations, and the first 3 or 4 tracks are absolute killer. They're really good, almost getting up towards the standard of some of Airbourne's greatest hits for me. And the whole album is quite consistent and doesn't have much filler. It's a strong album, but there is loads of issues with it, and since my review, my opinion hasn't changed that much. 1 or 2 tracks have grown on me a bit more, like Backseat Boogie. I love the riffs to Rock and Roll for Life and Switchblade Angel, and the first sort of 3 tracks, as well as Blood on the Water, are really good. But yeah, the whole thing was just a bit too rushed and could have been so much better in every way, really. And the only place on the album which really sort of makes me go wow is just that little bridge bit in This Is Our City after the solo. That bit, that's like the only bit on the whole album where my mouth could have like dropped in awe. This was a great album by AC/DC, especially at this stage in their career. I went absolutely mental when I first heard Play Ball, and I had it on repeat for days. I actually remember as well, Rockwell Bus got leaked at the same time as Play Ball came out, so which no one knew about. So basically it was like a double surprise sort of thing. I was absolutely buzzing because it was actually the first new AC/DC record I'd ever heard, because I got into them in 2009, which was after Black Ice came out. I don't think it's quite as good as Black Ice, but it's a very good album. Stuff like Misadventure, Baptism by Fire and Sweet Candy, I had all of them on repeat once the whole album came out. The riff for Baptism by Fire is just so good. So yeah, that overall is a very good album. I nearly put Rock or Bust in third place, but I think overall Breaking Out of Hell is a very strong album, almost all of the way through, bar, I think, sort of Do Me Like You Do Yourself. I think that's not quite as good as the rest. But the rest of the album is pretty killer, to be honest, with great tracks, like the title track, Rivalry, Never Too Loud, and of course, It's All for Rock and Roll, and pretty much the rest of the album, to be honest. It was very close between this album and the #1 album, which I'm pretty sure you can tell what that is by now through process of elimination. But this album has some weaker songs and isn't as consistent overall. It does, however, have some absolutely incredible tracks, like Blonde, Bad and Beautiful and Bottom of the Well. Blonde, Bad and Beautiful was the first ever track I heard by Airbourne, and when I heard that initial riff, after the drum beat, when the riff comes in, I literally just went. And Bottom of the Well, I'd say, is probably the second best song of the whole decade. It's got some amazing guitar, and like the motivation behind it and the power behind it as well is just insane. Aside from these tracks, the other highlights include No Way But the Hard Way, the riff for White Line Fever, that's amazing, Overdrive, Armed and Dangerous, and Chewing the Fat. What a fucking incredible masterpiece. The guys worked through Christmas and New Year getting this album done, and probably put about 10 times the amount of effort into this as they did with Bone Shaker, and you can absolutely tell. Yeah, just thank you so much. Basically, the whole album is out of this world. When Bone Shaker came out, it actually really made me appreciate this album and sort of put it into perspective. Like I say, the whole thing is absolutely great, but my favourite bits of it are Ready to Rock, the opener, that's absolutely amazing. Animalize is great. The riff and the chorus and the hook for No One Fits Me Better Than You is great. The last 30 seconds of Back in the Game, holy fuck, that's absolutely insane when you've got all the guitars coming in and the backing vocals and Joe's like, I play to win, and it's just fucking insane. Like, the power and the motivation is something that you cannot find on Bone Shaker, which they just brought out. There's bits of it on Breaking Out of Hell and No Go to No Glory, but I think this was sort of the epitome of their whole career so far, and I'm hoping it's not going to be. I'm hoping they'll, you know, create something which is as good. You can only hope. But yeah, on the intro to Woman Like That, that is the definition of an intro. It's fucking unreal, man. And Live It Up. Live It Up. Fuck me. It's the best song of the whole decade, if not my favourite song of all time. That and Shoot a Thrill are my favourite songs of all time. It's just, for me personally, it's absolutely insane. I lost it when I first heard that song. I paused it, I went out of the room, and I just stood there and I was like, holy fucking shit. Yeah, and I mean, just the whole of what the song's about as well. I mean, it just matches what I'm like and what my view on sort of life is and stuff like that. There's just loads of reasons, really. But yeah, that Black Dog Barking is just the best album from this decade, and really for me it's up there with stuff like Back in Black. It's just incredible. So yes, I don't think it's been a bad decade for rock music. It obviously hasn't been. I mean, the top 5 albums, Airbourne and AC/DC, they've been in the charts and stuff like that, but I mean, obviously rock and roll hasn't been very popular in terms of pop music as it was in the 70s or 80s, but I think there is a little bit of a revival. I think in the 90s and the early 2000s it really died quite a lot, but towards the second half of the 2000s and into the 2010s, I think it has actually got quite a bit of a revival. And with bands like Greta Van Fleet as well, which have done really well recently, we can only hope that coming into the 2020s there's going to be some more new bands that are going to be quite inspired by everything that's going on. So yes, hopefully the 2020s will be good. And basically all I want to say is Australia and Sweden, because pretty much all of the bands on this list are from Australia and Sweden or Scandinavia. Fucking rock on, because you guys rule and you've done a fucking great job this decade. So if you're from Australia or Sweden, fucking good on you. That's going to wrap this video up. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share.